Good morning, everybody. Today, you will be working with the sub on skill 13 and skill 14. These are actually two mini skills. Um, One is called factoring the difference of two squares, and then the other is factoring by grouping. And actually, believe it or not, we have already done factor by grouping, but today we're just going to really solidify it so that way we can factor even more types of polynomials throughout the whole second quarter. All right, so the idea of factoring is that, just to recap, is that we want to um, basically go from a standard form to a factored form so that we can more easily find what the zeros are. So we kind of did a lot of, okay, let's factor, take each factor and set it equal to 0. Now, if I give you the directions to simplify, what that means is that you have to do the polynomial multiplication to get back to the standard form. So this is a very nice graphic over here to kind of show you the relationship between factoring and simplifying. All right, so kind of a root of factoring is this idea of the greatest common factor. And if we look at these examples over here, we want to think about what does each term have in common. So if we have 12x cubed plus 30x squared, we ask ourselves, what does 12 and what does 30 have in common? And we can actually see here that 6 goes into both of those. And then I ask myself also, what is the lowest power of x? And the lowest power of x is x squared. So therefore, x squared is part of the greatest common factor. So I pulled out a 6x squared. So next I do, okay, I pulled out the 6x squared, and I say, okay, what's 12 divided by 6? And that's 2. And then x cubed over x squared is just x. And then on this side, I got the x squareds that cancel out, and I'm left with 30 divided by 6, which is 5. Now, example 2, we kind of think about here, what happens if I have multiple variables in each term? And it's the same type of thinking that goes on, except I'm going to also be thinking about not only the first variable, but the second variable too. So I'm going to pull out GCF, so I know that 3, 12, and 30 have a 3 in common. And then I ask myself, what is the lowest exponent of C? So I'm going to pull out a C. And then what's my lowest exponent of D? And I'm going to pull out a D. And I pull out the 3CD as my GCF. 12 divided by 3 is 4. C squared divided by C is C. D cubed divided by D is D squared. Then I'm going to go and I'm going to say negative 30 divided by 3, which is minus 10. C cubed divided by C is C squared. And D squared divided by D is D. And then I can see over here that this is a 3CD, which happens to match my GCF. So I'm going to put a minus 1 in there. And at this point, we kind of ask ourselves, can we factor this anymore? We have successfully pulled out the GCF, so therefore we cannot factor anymore. Now, sometimes if we have a negative sign in front, like on this one, I'm actually going to pull out the negative along with the 5. And that's advantageous because I don't have to worry about the signs inside of the parentheses. So that's the idea of GCF factoring. I'm going to make mini videos on the next parts too. So please stay tuned with me on how to do factoring with the difference of two squares. Thank you very much, and keep working hard.